On this week's episode of the Going Deeper podcast, we're talking about summer practices. What's up, Fathom Church, and welcome to the Going Deeper podcast. These are episodes that we like to talk about, whether it's a certain topic or a sermon, and go deeper into it, hopefully to help you go deeper in your relationship with God. I'm in our podcast studio here at Fathom Church with our lead pastor, Chris Martin, and we are in our summer sermon series that we like to call Summer Practices. And these are simple ways to live in God's grace. And we're talking about different practices and be very practical with them wherever you're at to hopefully help us live in God's grace at home, at work, or whatever we're doing this summer. So hopefully these have been beneficial to you as you've listened to these over the last few weeks. Today we're going to be talking about practicing listening and what does it mean and look like to hear from God, to listen to others, listening as a way of love and discernment. I think most of the times we are very, especially in today's culture, very quick to talk and quick to get our own thoughts out there. And sometimes we're just slow to listen to God and to each other. And so we're going to talk about some practical ways to listen better in whether it's in prayer or conversation with others. But Chris, let me ask you this. Why is listening so hard? That's a big question, but why is listening so hard?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons. One is we're self-centered. So, yep. and even shy introverts still are focused mostly on ourselves. So
sure,
that's some of it. We talked about this a few weeks ago, but distraction is at an all-time high. So it's really hard. Like sometimes Marcy and I go out to dinner, and if I'm seated anywhere with a TV in eyeshot, it's going to be hard for me.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what's on.
Especially with the World Cup on.
Oh, dude, it doesn't matter what's on. It could be an infomercial for, vacuum seal containers. And I'll be like, just like watching while I'm eating chips and salsa and Marcy is trying to share about something. It's just distractions, man. That's hard. I don't know, man. It's like a lost art, listening. And actually, I know we're talking about listening, but maybe the word that came to mind as you were talking about that introduction is the Bible talks about paying attention. And I wonder if there's something there, like how many of us are paying attention at any given moment about what's around us and who's around us and where we are and who we're with and what they're saying. And like, how many of us live present?
Totally.
And you'll never listen if you're not doing that. So that was kind of the thoughts that I had right off the bat on, man, it's just, we're just going so fast, doing so much that it's really hard to pay attention. It's really hard to listen.
Yeah. I think for me, a specific example for me, and this isn't just, this happens with my wife too, as we're kind of doing the same thing and I'm listening to her about her day or whatever she's going through, or if she just like needs to talk. Or this makes me think a lot of maybe what we do as just a culture in today's world, especially with social media and news and everything like that, is I feel like there's almost this like subtle pride in that we already know what's going to be said. And I'm speaking maybe from personal experience that like there's some times where talking with Jackie about some things and she had a rough day at teaching or whatever like that. And like in my head, I'm like, I already know what you're going to say. Like I already know. And so sometimes I tune out and I'm not a good listener. And we do that in our culture today all the time, is like, we're not good listeners because we already think we know that, or we already know what that person's going to say or whatever like that. And I think that's for me, it's a very dangerous thing, is that I just become conceited and prideful of like, I already know this, so therefore might look at a screen or something like that, or tune tune out a little bit
Yeah.
like that. And so yeah, there's it can be so simple as distraction or whatever like that, but then it can also be serious of like, I don't need to listen.
Yeah.
To you.
Well, and let's give ourselves the benefit of the doubt and cut ourselves a little bit of slack on this too, because you can do a lot of reading about listening, and it's something that has to be practiced.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's this idea of active listening, which it's not like listening like this does not come naturally. It's not something that you accidentally do.
Sure.
Some people are more wired to do it naturally than others, but all the while it's requiring it. So you get home from work and you want to hear about Jackie's day.
Yeah.
You almost have to like flip the listening switch on to say, hey, I'm going to dial in right now. I'm going to go talk with her. I'm going to ask her that question. I'm going to look her in the eye. I'm going to listen to her. I'm going to respond. I'm going to nod. I'm going to like, it's not just like you've got to actively listen, because otherwise you might be there, but you're not really fully there. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder how many people are actively listening to us right now.
Yeah. They're probably,
just say whatever
hitting the treadmill or something.
Okay. So when we're talking about, I want to talk about hearing from God.
Okay.
Man, I feel like this can be such a pain point and a frustration for Christians when they feel like they're not hearing from God. What is that kind of, what are some practices we can do to sort of, and we talk about discerning a lot, discerning whether a voice or what we're hearing from is from God, or maybe it's our own thoughts. How can we go about discerning whether we are hearing from God or hearing from ourselves?
Yeah. Well, first you've got to figure out what you're hearing. Okay. So, here's an example. If you ever been in a restaurant or at the mall or, somewhere, and there's a song playing on the radio somewhere and you can kind of hear it, but you kind of can't.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you're like, listen, you're like, is that Take On Me by Aha? Like, you're just like,
which yes, it probably is.
Probably is. Yeah. But you can hear it just a little bit, but then there's a table next to you with a kid who's screaming, and there's, a couple who are, three tables over, and they're in a fight, and you're having a conversation with Jackie and you're trying to have this conversation. And then your waiter is like banging trays or, and so there's all these other things going on. And you're like, is that Take On Me? Like, is that what's like, and now that's a picture. Okay. That's an illustration. That before you can hear God, you need to somehow claw your way through all the clutter and all the other stuff. Now, I know we talked about distraction again a few weeks ago, but there are all these other competing voices. Sure. There's all these other competing things, bidding for your hearing, for your listening ears. And so I preached this, I don't know, a month ago, probably more than that, where I used the illustration of chips and salsa at the restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
But it's the same thing here. Like if you aren't hearing from God, I would ask, what are you listening to? Right? Like if you're not hungry for the main course, are you eating too many chips in the appetizer? You're filling yourself up on the free chips and salsa, and that's why you're not hungry for the mogajete bowl, is because you've just gorged yourself on something that's not as valuable. Well, if you're trying to listen to God and you don't feel like you're hearing him, I wonder how much other stuff you're listening to.
Yeah.
Like I wonder how much other stuff you're listening to. Like if you feel like you can't hear him and the Bible is boring and you don't, okay, so like, how much Netflix do you watch?
Right.
How much YouTube do you, how much doom scrolling are you doing? Like, how many chips are you eating before the meal comes? Like, what else are you listening to? Yeah. And the same is true for, I'm looking for his direction and for his guidance. Again, like anytime we're trying to discern the will of the Lord, you've got to isolate the hearing in your life to find where his voice is amongst all the other clutter out there.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I mean, you just asking those questions, it's like, what other things are you listening to? And usually when I am frustrated, when I get to the point where I'm like, God, you're not speaking to me, like I'm not hearing you, it is because so many other things are vying for my attention, or I've got all these other distractions. And I'm like, well, God is probably talking to me, but I am not kind of weeding through all those things, which I think, again, is like such a convicting thing to really do that kind of work on yourself and be like, he probably is talking to you, but what else is talking to you?
And dude, you just said it. There's so many other things that I'm paying attention to. So it's back to the pay attention stuff.
Yeah.
You just accidentally said that word. And Hebrews 2 says this. I know we didn't talk about the scripture, but it just came to mind.
Throw it in there, man.
Hebrews 2 says this, Hebrews 2:1. Therefore, we must pay much closer attention to what we have heard, lest we drift away from it.
Dang. Mic drop. It's good.
So what are you paying attention to? What are you listening to? I can't hear God. What are you listening to? Well, I don't feel like I get much out. What are you paying attention to? Are you paying much closer attention to the things that we've heard, lest we drift away? That's what the writer of Hebrews is saying. So practically listening to others is, you need active listening. You need to turn that switch on. You need to engage intentionally. It's not going to happen by mere chance. The same, I would say, is true for God. You're not just going to hear God because you're like, I wonder what he would want from me.
Yeah.
You've got to pay much closer attention to the things that you've heard, lest you drift away. So this then piles back to the first three things that we talked about: distractions and scripture reading and prayer. And then, and so it's going to take some work to be able to listen to the Lord. It's going to take work to listen to your wife. It's going to take work to listen to your kids. It's going to take work to listen to your God. Yeah.
Well, and I think, as we kind of move into listening to others, I think that's so important to realize that it's going to take work, and the blessings that can come from putting in that work to listen to others. Man, I think about all the relationships you're in, all the areas, whether it's daily things or weekly things or whatever, that circumstances that you are put in where you can actively listen, where you can be paying attention to others, where you can actually do that work to show that love towards people. I'm thinking of yes, your marriage, but in your small groups and everything like that. If you're practicing good listening, if you're not doing what James is talking about of if we're quick to speak over others and we're slow to listen, it's like, man, if we actually did that work and took that time in those relationships with others, to love them by listening to them and all those things, what a crazy change that could be, and what awesome fruitful relationships we could see in everything. And everything comes back to showing that love by listening to others. I think that's really, really cool. Anything else? Any last things on this? This is good.
I love it, man.
This is good. Listen well to God and to others. Thanks, Chris.
You bet, bud.
For talking about this. Thank you, church, for listening. We'll catch you next time.